You use your government name.
Wasalu Jacob, yeah.
What is it again?
Wasalu Jacob, it's my real name.
And how do you get Lupe out of that?
Because of the Lu.
Oh.
Ah.
Okay. And then Fiasco?
Fiasco, well, I had a friend in high school named Lupe.
Okay.
And when I was rapping all through high school, my rap name was Lil Lu, you know. And it was just kind of like, Lupe sounds cooler. I'm gonna be Lupe, you know what I'm saying? And Fiasco came from Nas, because Nas was Nas Escobar, you know. And he had a first name and a last name rap name. And because it was Escobar, it had to be Spanish, you know, Spanish sounding. And Fiasco, kind of like, okay, Fiasco sounds Spanish. I didn't know what it meant though. And I kind of picked it up, and it's Lupe Fiasco. And I remember we did a show, like a high school talent show, and the lady announced us, and she said like, oh, we're in the group. She said my homie's name, she said my little homie, and she said my name, but she said it with like a certain flair. And I was like, oh yeah, Lupe Fiasco, that's cool.
A lot of people don't know how involved Jay-Z was in your career and you getting signed to Atlantic Records. So can you just kind of go over how you two linked up? And he was executive producer on your first album, right?
He actually wanted me to sign to Rockefeller. I had a record deal with Epic Records, and coming out of Epic Records, it was the opportunity for us to sign. It was a solo artist to sign, you know, to Rockefeller. You know, it just kind of came up. It never really reached fruition, but there was a connection there. You know what I'm saying? We clicked with my partner, one of my business partners, and it became just kind of like a cosign, like a bigger brother, mentor kind of situation throughout the industry. And when it came for me to put out my first album, you know, he came in and helped. You know what I'm saying? On this is dope, that's dope. And of course he did the song Pressure, you know, get that together. And it's been like that. Even though he didn't get executive producer credit on The Cool, my second album, you know, every time I do a record, even Lasers in kind of its earliest kind of formation, like when we first did like a first maybe rough draft album, you know, I'll always go play it for Jay-Z first, you know, so Jay-Z was the first person to hear like Superstar, he's the first person to hear like Paris, Tokyo, and what have you, to kind of get his thumbs up or thumbs down, what do you think? So it's the same thing with Lasers.
I posted up on Facebook if anybody had any questions for you. One of the good questions that stuck out to me on the last album, you had a song and it was like released as a single later on, Dumb It Down. Was that song made to not make any sense? Because at some points it's almost like, were you wanting to go so over the top with it that people...
Well, the story with Dumb It Down, and it's weird because it's like, Kick Push isn't complex at all, and that was like the first record. That was like the first big Lupe Fiasco record. So it's like, I didn't come into the game being known for being like this super complex dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking for the world. Like we had the fan base and the mixtape, so I'm saying like for the world. It was just kind of like Kick Push, which isn't complex at all. You don't have to listen to it 20 times to memorize the verses. You see what I'm saying? But I just started to get this onus where it's like, oh, he's super over the top and he uses big words. And it's like, nah, I don't use big words. I've never used an encyclopedia, well maybe once, in a rap or anything like that. So when I did Dumb It Down, I felt that that my albums weren't lyrical enough. You know what I'm saying? So it's like man, I don't have that one song on my album that's like a super lyrical record. And so actually Dumb It Down wasn't Dumb It Down at first. It was called Space Travel, right? And so because it was called Space Travel and the hook didn't really mean anything, it was like, all right, I'm gonna just talk about whatever, you know, I'm just go over the top, talk about whatever. And I actually went and played the song for like one of the A&Rs at Atlantic. He's like, yo, it's too deep, you should dumb it down. And I was like, okay. And so we took what he said, dumbed it down, and made it the hook, you know, and put like exactly what he said, like you going over people's head, dumb it down, you know, he said such, but we didn't change the verses at all.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling kind of song, so to speak, you know.
Gotcha.
Did it on purpose to like, okay, I hope you don't get it, you know, but at the same time too, it is what it is.
Initially when you were coming up, I heard that you didn't really like hip hop because of the vulgarity and stuff like that in it. So I noticed when you rap, you kind of stray away for the most part from a lot of the curse words and stuff like that. But the thing that struck me as interesting is you still use the N-word when you rap. I didn't understand why.
Well, I'm not like a super conscious, you know, eat at Whole Foods, you know, vegan kind of dude. You know, I still come from the hood. You know, I came from the same places that a lot of dudes who all their records are about dope dealing and shootings and kidnappings and prostitution and all that. I come from that same world and that same place. Everybody around me is either a felon or like, you know, it's been to jail or been into it with the police or have you. Everybody, you know, from my family members to my, you know, my friends, my cohorts, whatever. So I still come from that world, you know, where I saw that, you know, that very graphic world. You know, I came up on the same music, you know, I was listening to gangster rap and Too Short and the whole thing. So it wasn't like I came up in the suburbs, you know what I'm saying? Everything was proper and it was nice. Like, no, I lived in the ghetto, I lived in the project. So I still have that, you know, I still have that part of me, you know, that portion. All my earlier records are all gangster rap records, you know, they're all hood records or what have you. Because that's what I was speaking about, and that's what I saw, and that's what I was speaking to. I wasn't speaking to the suburbs, you know, I didn't have Kick Push, you know, I wasn't like some up pop and what have you. It's like, nah, I'm a straight rapper from the streets. So for me, I don't look at it as too much as being a hypocrisy, you know, because the way I look and view the word, for me, it's so much history bottled up in that phrase. You know what I'm saying? There's so many connotations and nuances to that word and what it means, and how in the black community, how we accepted it and ingested that word and changed it and turned it into something else. We turned it into a term of endearment, where at one point it was a term of oppression. You know what I'm saying? So just because now it may not be the politically correct thing to say, there's way more destructive, politically incorrect things to say or to do. You know, I think that just a record talking about shooting somebody, you know what I'm saying, is way more potent and way more destructive and way more disrespectful, you know what I'm saying, than the N-word, you know what I mean? So for me, I don't really look at it as kind of being like a big hypocritical thing for me to do, to go out and make a positive record, but at the same time,